Okay, so today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing powers. So we've got two different rules when we're taking a look at this. So the first one is when we multiply powers. The shortcut for this is adding exponents. So we're going to take the exponents and we are going to add them together. So when I have two powers that have the same base, so this one has A and this one has A, we can take each of their exponents m and n and add them together to get a simplified version of that base with an exponent. For dividing powers, it's similar. Instead of adding exponents, we're going to subtract. So again, when they have the same base, I have A and A here. We take their exponents, and in order from numerator to denominator, we subtract them. So m minus n. Okay, and just a quick review. A power is the entire part of something that contains a base and an exponent. The base is the bigger number, and the exponent is the smaller number. Okay, so taking a look at some examples, keeping in mind off to the side the exponent rules. Looking at example A, we're asked to simplify 2 to the 6th times 2 to the 8th. So I can write that in simplest exponential form by using my multiplication. So we'll do multiplication in green, my multiplication of powers. So I take the exponent 6 and the exponent 8 because they have the same base. I add 6 plus 8 together and I get 14. So this can be rewritten as 2 to the 14th. Okay. For the next one, same thing. I have multiplication. They're the same base, -3 and -3. So I take their exponent 7, and then this one, because I don't see one has 1, I add 7 plus 1, and I get -3 to the 8th. It's very important that you keep those parentheses. Okay, the next one I have multiplication again. All the bases are -7. I see an exponent of 3, an exponent of 1, and an exponent of 5, so I add 3 plus 1 plus 5. I end up getting 9. So simplified exponential form is -7 to the 9. Okay, for the next one, the bases are all m and they're being multiplied. I have an exponent of 1, 5, and 6, so I add 1 plus 5 plus 6, and I get m to the 12th. Okay, the next one is using division, so I'm going to look at my division of powers law, and it says that if they have the same base, which they do, they're both 7, I take 13 and 8 and I subtract them. So 13 minus 8 gets me 5. Whichever has the bigger exponent is going to be where the base stays. So if 13 was down here, we keep the answer down here in a positive exponent form. So we've got 7 to the 5th power. Okay, same thing here. I have the same bases. They're being divided. So I've got 6 and 2. I do 6 minus 2, and I get x to the 4th power. Okay, so G has a mixture of both, so we want to simplify the multiplication first. I've got the same bases, 9 and 3 as the exponent, so I add 3 and 9 and get 12. So this is 2 to the 12th over 2 to the 4th. Then I have the same bases with division, 2 and 2, so I take 12 and 4 and I subtract them, and I get 2 to the 8th in simplest exponential form. Okay, over here I have a fraction times a whole number, so I need to make that whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1. When I multiply numerators and denominators, I get y to the 18th over y to the 7th. Now I see division with the same base. I've got y over y, so I take their exponents, 18 and 7, and I subtract them. I end up getting y to the 11th. Okay, last but not least, I see a fraction times a fraction, so I multiply their bases. I've got 2x cubed times 2x cubed over 5y squared times 5y squared. I'm going to use multiplication first. So with 2 and 2, I can just straight up multiply those. Technically, they have an exponent of 1, so it'd be 2 squared. But we want to go ahead and simplify it. So that's going to be 4. And then I've got x and x with exponents of 3. So I add 3 plus 3 and I get x to the 6th. Okay, that's over 5 times 5 gets me 25. And then y and y, which have squares. So 2 plus 2 is 4, so I have it over y to the 4th. Okay, that would be my simplified version, because if I take a look at the division, 4 and 25 don't share a common factor, and x and y are not the same base, so that would be the answer to that problem. Okay, if you have any questions, please make sure to ask. Otherwise, go ahead and get started on the practice.